Hello, thank you all for joining in. Tonight, we are interviewing with the Matarrese brothers, and we will be highlighting their short film called The Glovebox. It is a pleasure to get to interview both of you too, mainly because even though I thought I knew where the movie was going, I was like, not in broad daylight. As soon as I see that, I was like,
That's great.
For anyone that has not seen the movie, can you all give them like a short 10 seconds? What would sell the movie?
Joe, you go.
The plot?
Yes.
Well, the short plot, it's about a muscle car that eats people. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the kind of longer, I guess, plot is about it's about a young boy getting his first used car, and turns out that that car is possessed by the demon of a serial killer, and it slowly takes him over. So, yeah.
Yep. That's it.
When I first read the plot, at first I was like, oh, okay, kind of, because I like to watch a lot of old movies, so I was like, a street car named Desire. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh no, this is not that.
No, this is not that.
This is not that. So, needless to say, I enjoyed watching it. So I do want to know, since you both are brothers, which one tends to have to motivate the other one more when it comes to like the writing process or like building the storyboard or any of the process? Like, who would have to be the one to say, come on, let's get this done?
It's definitely Joe. I have two young kids, so my schedule is like all over the place. I'm in Legoland right now, actually, and yeah, so it's definitely Joe having to be like, hey, like, did you email this, or did you do this, or take a look at this when you can, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it does kind of switch off based on like the project. So it's really great having a twin, because if I get stuck at a certain place, I'm like, I don't know where this is going. I sent it to Phil, and Phil's like, oh yeah, why didn't you think of this? Like, duh, that makes sense. I'm like, oh yeah. Well. So we trade off.
Yeah.
How do you all deal with especially since you just brought up that you are at Legoland, how do you both deal with like home life, career, love, and trying to get a movie? Like, how do you handle that and manage self-care?
It is hard, especially because we both come from the crew side. So I was a gaffer for a long time, and Joe was a key grip for a long time. We've been on set for like 16 or 17 years. We started in college, professionally, doing lighting in college. And we had been making movies since the fifth grade with our little video cameras. So it's hard to first to turn it off, because for us this is a vocation. Most people have a job, if they're lucky if that job turns into a career, and the very few people really find their passion in what they do and it turns into a vocation. So it's really hard to turn that off, because you're constantly thinking like, oh, I don't have time to sit and watch this TV show, after a long day, sit with my wife and hang out and watch the show, because I should be writing something, or I should be doing that. So it's really, really hard. And especially in the film industry, especially pre-COVID, like 12-hour day was a like that was like a guaranteed like minimum, right?
Yeah.
Like we're at least doing 12 hours, plan on 12 hours, probably more, plus the drive time, right?
Yeah. And lunch.
Yeah. So after COVID, that's starting to change a little bit. People are, I think, more aware of that sort of work-life balance. But it's hard when the whole industry is built on that.
Yeah.
It's really hard at. Yeah.
For me, but I think for both of us, Phil, our self-care is making a movie. Like, we love being on set so much that like when we're like, oh, we're not working or like dealing with whatever other priorities we have or obligations, let's write something, let's make something. That's like our version of taking a break.
That's true. And I also like my wife, you know, she works really hard. She's a lawyer. She works really hard and stuff. And, you know, she'll take like girls trips and stuff. And she's like, oh, you should go take like go take a trip. And I'm like, no, I'm going to save that up so that I can go away for 2 weeks or for a month and work on a movie. Because that to me is my escape. So that's, you know, I guess that's also my answer, is that, you know, part of our self-care is making movies and being able to do that. So
okay. When you, because you did mention that you all have done projects since you were in 5th grade. So when you look back to then and now, do you feel like some of the, what you would probably consider mistakes back then, you probably have decided like, it wasn't really that bad, like I can continue to use those, you know, like have they, any of your, what you would have thought was a mistake back then, could you see it being used today?
Yeah, absolutely. We did a thing, well, not really a mistake, but like when you're young, you don't really know like how to make a movie. And what we would do is our bedroom, we shared a bedroom, and each corner was like a different set. So we would just shoot a movie in our room where it was like, this is the police station, this is like the bad guy's lair, and then we just like turn the camera and dress it. And then as we learned the craft, we're like, well, that's like, people are going to notice. And now we kind of understand that, nope, people don't really notice. Like we can get away with those little tricks that we thought we were so clever. And then we realized once we learned all the rules of how to make a movie, you kind of poo-poo that idea. And then you kind of get back to like, no, we can just use flashlights to light it. We don't need big lights, or we don't need a crane or whatever. We can just make it with whatever we have. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know, for the longest time we would make these little movies, you know, at home and stuff. And I remember we would always show it to our family, right? Because we'd have like a little video camera, and then you rewind the tape, and then you plug it into your TV. And you know, be like, okay, everyone gather around. And as we were watching it, we would explain what was going on, because we were worried that people weren't understanding it. Like they weren't laughing at the right time, or they weren't like gasping at the right time. You know, we're like, no, look, like that was the twist. Look, you know. And I remember at one point, Joe, I don't know if you remember this, but at one point it was either like our mom or dad said, like, you don't have to explain it. Just let us watch it. Like let us just experience it, and we'll understand it, and we'll get it, and we'll love it. And so that was something that I remember like realizing that, and like, oh, and I still do that. Like I still, you know, I'm sure, you know, like I'm wanting to be like, oh, and watch this, get ready, here the thing comes, or oh, really we were supposed to hold that shot for longer or whatever. And so that idea of being able to watch something that you've made and see the mistakes is something that I've sort of like embraced, because you know there are opportunities for us to learn, and so we try to learn from them, you know, all the time. And there's something fun about going back and watching and seeing where you've come from. You know, I kind of like that they're like little time capsules, right? So we're traveling back through time to see where we were when we were in the 5th grade, and where we were when we were in high school, and where we were when we were in film school, and then when we first started with lighting. So it's fun going back and looking at those, not as mistakes, but as these like little captured moments in time.
So is there any genre that you haven't done yet that you would like to try?
Oh, I mean, I'd love to do a Western.
I can see that.
I think we both would have. We've written a couple Westerns, and we've never actually made one. And I think that could be really fun, but I don't want to do, we don't want to do like a standard Western. We kind of want to do something different. But yeah, for sure a Western. And then have we done sci-fi? We've kind of done sci-fi, but not
we've done like
that's sort of anything.
Yeah, that's sort of the stuff that like, you know, we grew up loving like genre films, right? So we love Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all that stuff. I would love to, although I'm terrified to do like an action film. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do action because first of all, like the doing the analysis and the sort of like all the research for that, I think would be a lot of fun to just watch how to shoot a good car chase. How do you you know how do you keep the audience engaged when it comes to that? And I would love to, but it's also very daunting. You know, like we've done horror, we've done comedy, we've done, you know, a few other things, but yeah, a Western would be a lot of fun, or a an action movie, I think would be
a big action. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
So with the Glovebox, I actually, because I'm curious to see how unhinged he becomes, because he starts off so appreciative, so sweet, and then he just gets dark, unresponsive, aloof, irritated, and it's like the change that it took for him to happen, the way that you all were able to do it in such a short amount of time. I'm curious to see it in a, you know, like a full feature. Would that ever be in the makes, or is there ever like a feature? Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, and the idea started as a feature, and we started writing it, but we didn't know the ending, and we wrote Act 1, and then we realized that we really loved the project, and we're like, this is the one that we want to make, because we've written a bunch of scripts, and it's always hard to pick which project to go with, you know, which one you want to kind of focus your time on. So we decided, instead of finishing the feature length, let's take Act 1 and condense it down to 10 pages. And so it was basically Act 1 in a very short, very truncated sense. So yeah, absolutely, we would love to make a feature. We're still not quite sure how it's going to end, but we know how it starts. So.
Yeah, and there's much more to the like world that we know we want. You know, we want to involve like the school and his teachers and his parents as characters, and his best friend, and then some of the other like students. You know, and that the way that the sort of world works around him, so you can feel, and also exploring Katz, the serial killer, the spirit, exploring that character more. That's all. Yeah, that was all like preconceived before we were like, how are we going to condense this to 10 pages, you know? So yeah, we definitely have a feature planned that we would love to make one day.
Yeah.
When it comes to like the ideas, who tends to be the driver on like, I see it, let's do it?
You know what? It depends. Like often, so like, and it's usually us adding on to things. So like Joe will come up with an idea sometimes. Like we had this idea for a Western, right? And Joe's like, okay, I want to do this Western and Gold Rush era, and it's these two guys, and you know, very low like body count. Like there's only 4 characters, and they have to go find this stolen gold that's hidden in the woods somewhere, and these are the stumbling blocks. And he sent me the script, and it was a very short script, because he's like, yeah, you know, I could only get to like 40 pages, and I read it and I was like, okay, I love it, but we're gonna add a monster to it. There's a monster out there. So now it's gone from Western to this sort of like Western horror. Or there's other projects, you know, that like I'll come up with an idea and then pitch it to him. He's like, okay, I like that, but nothing really happens. So how can we, you know, let's put a twist in there where this, you know, so we both like feed off of each other's ideas, because there's and it's changing. Like our both of our styles separately are changing, but are also sort of coming together as well, which is really cool. Like Joe used to be, and still sort of is, much more like on drama and backstory and these like you know, dramatic reflective things, and I'm like, I want to see explosions, I want a monster, I want blood.
Yeah.
And like the truth is like you need both, right? So like
Yeah.
like the best comedies out there have some of the most beautiful dramatic beats in them, right? You can't have great comedy without really, really great drama. And you can't have drama that really grabs people, otherwise it turns into melodrama without adding some lighthearted comedy in there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you need to be able to raise the stakes, with a little bit of everything, right? There needs to be a little bit of everything in there. You need to add tension somehow, add conflict somehow, and everything is sort of a mixed genre anyway. So you really need to sort of like do that, and so that's I think been very helpful for us to complete projects or elevate projects.
Yeah, we're pretty good at trading off. So, yeah.
I actually could tell based on how you both communicate right now. It's like once he's done, like y'all don't talk over each other, and that's pretty rare, especially in siblings.
That's all training from set. We were a Gaffer Key Grip team for years, and we learned how to communicate on set non-verbally. We learned how to look at each other and like point and kind of understand. And so we've been working together all our lives. But being on set really trained us as a lighting duo, really trained us to direct, and really trained us to kind of take a project. We do all the hard, I don't want to say arguing, but debating before like we're even on set. That way we can kind of make sure that we're on the same page and we know exactly what needs to happen and we just need to execute it. So, yeah.
You kind of just touched on one of my follow-up questions, but the question was, since you all have been doing film since 5th grade, you know, throughout life, you're changing, interests have changed, different the way you decide to make decisions change. How do you all, especially as family members, navigate each other's changes and still respecting each other's process? Like, how do you marry those changes into, the evolution of your projects?
Well, I think our careers have kind of evolved kind of on par with how like our like family lives have evolved. So we've gone from working every single day on a million different projects in the lighting department to, focusing on writing a feature and directing a feature, that kind of thing. So, and spending, like months on a single project. And so I think that is a really helpful thing to do. We've got a million ideas, and every couple months we tend to go through our list and say, okay, what do we want to focus on? We have these, these wish lists of all these ideas of movies we want to write. Which ones are viable? Which ones are interest us now? And really getting rid of the ones that like, I started writing an idea when I was, in my 20s. And then I was like, oh, this is still on the list. Yeah, it's kind of a dumb idea. And just kind of getting rid of those, I think really helps, because we realize that we're just evolving as people and as artists, and being able to kind of let go of kind of the old stuff that really wasn't very good to begin with. We thought it was brilliant when we were in our 20s, but now when you read something back, you're like, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, and with the family life, like it's just, I think it's just being aware and like communicating is obviously big, and we're lucky where we have a shorthand, and we've been communicating our whole lives to each other and to other people, and so being able to like set boundaries when we need to, and understanding those boundaries and respect those boundaries that's something that we've always had to do, because we usually shared a room when we were kids, and sometimes we had our own separate toys or our own separate CDs or whatever, and then there are times where we're like, we really want this one together that we can share, and so we've had to sort of like walk that fine line of not overstepping or overstepping and pushing back when we have to, like our whole lives. So it's something that very easily translates into our professional lives.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was actually some good advice. That was some good advice. All the viewers, apply it where it fits, because I'm pretty sure it fit in a bunch of different ways.
Absolutely.
I do want to ask, how can the viewers find about how can the viewers keep up with you all? How can they find you on social media?
We're on Instagram. Oh, look, we talked over each other. We're oh, you go.
I was gonna say, our last name is very long and hard to pronounce, so we've shortened it to the Mat Bros. That's the easiest way to find us. On Instagram, we're at the Mat Bros, 1T MATBROS. And then that's also our email address on our website, thematbros.com. So yeah, people can we have on our page, I think we have our videos and stuff on our Instagram, but yeah, people can message us or whatever. But yeah, everything is the Mat Bros. Pretty easy.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking to you all. We are running out of time, but I look forward to meeting you all at the TILÈ Film Festival, July 8th. And I loved the work. That was the first film that I've seen from you all, but I'm gonna definitely go to the Mat Bros and watch the rest.
Yeah, awesome. Wonderful.
Yes. So for everyone that's viewing, please go make your way to the TILÈ Film Festival on July 8th. It will be in Oakland, California at Jeffrey's Inner Circle, where you'll be able to meet the Mat Bros and watch their their small film, The Glovebox. Is there any parting words that you all would like to?
No, just thank you so much for having us and for putting on the festival. You guys are doing great stuff. Being able to let artists, present their films. That's very important work.
Well, we appreciate you and the work that you all put into the film industry.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. We're super excited to meet everybody on July 8th. And thank you all so much for having our short film Glovebox. We're really excited about it.